to the K-12 Strong Workforce Program Bidders Conference for the RFA for 2019 and 2020. Before we started, I just wanted to give you some house cleaning or housekeeping items. First of all, we've got everybody on mute today. If you do have questions, go ahead and submit them through the chat room. Today is technically the last day to submit questions, but we'll take into account some of the questions that we receive, and if there's anything new, then we'll report them on the FAQs. Realize that we've been doing a number of FAQ development or frequently asked question development through our engagement meetings that have taken place. And so for those of you on the call that have been able to attend an engagement meeting, thank you. For those of you that have upcoming ones, we appreciate your attendance there. So, and as always, we want you to refer to the RFA for any additional questions that that may sort of rise, and then the FAQs. And if you have additional questions after that, you can always approach the regional chairs and the leads in each region to ask questions too. Again, once the point of the deadline for questions ends, then we can really only answer questions that are related to NOVA access and accessing the online portal. So just keep that in mind. Today is designed to really get you all the information you need for the RFA. So, and again, my name is Matt Roberts. I'm the Dean for Field Operations, overseeing the K-12 Strong Workforce Program and the Strong Workforce Programs here at the California Community College Chancellor's Office. I want to do a shout out to our California Department of Education counterparts, Michelle McIntosh and Pradeep and the team over at CDE. I'd like to really thank them for their help this year in the development of the RFA. Joining me on the call today is my colleague from here at the Chancellor's Office.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Alejandro Sandoval with the Chancellor's Office.
So together we're going to just go through these slides with you. The slides are all posted, and we'll show you kind of where those are at in just a minute, along with other resources. And of course, the presentation today is being recorded and will be available at a point in the near future on the Chancellor's Office website. So if you do know folks that weren't able to attend today, just turn them to the Chancellor's Office website for K-12 Strong Workforce, and they'll be able to pull it up. Other things I missed there so far? All right, so today, the purpose of today's session is to really walk you through the application for K-12 Strong Workforce and to review support resources, materials, and tools to help you. I want to thank the field for all of your comments, all of your productive comments and criticisms, to help us to improve the tools that we roll out to you. And we listened. I want you to know that the application, we've gone in and tried to reduce a lot of the duplication, a lot of the administrative burden that maybe you experienced in the first iteration. Realize that in the first year we had probably 6 months to roll this out, but in the second year we had a little bit more time. So again, thank you. Throughout the session though, and where applicable, we'll also address some frequently asked questions that have surfaced during the introductory webinar. And a little bit later on the PowerPoint today, I'm going to ask Alejandra to talk about 4 or 5 of the top questions that we're getting in the field. And maybe it'll answer some things that are on your head, on the top of your minds. We also want to tell you that FAQs have come from the regional engagement meetings and other questions that you've submitted directly to the help desk here. So same process as we used last year. Once again, the RFA and support resources available on the Chancellor's Office website really provide very detailed descriptions, examples, and it should be examined carefully prior to preparing and submitting your application. More general information about K-12 Strong Workforce is available at the Chancellor's Office website, including an overview of the K-12 Strong Workforce Program and an archive of introductory webinars from the September 18th, 2019 meeting date. We want you to be able to message what this funding does, what it's intended to do to your boards, to your administrators, etc. in your communities. All right, let's move forward. So let's dig right in. The K12SWP RFA and support materials were released on the Chancellor's Office website and by email on October 1st, 2019. Included in the packet are the RFA itself, the CTE Pathway Program Work Plan template, which you'll need. There's also a template with an example, and so you can see from top to bottom how to fill out the work plan. There's a budget template as well, and then also scoring rubrics. And I want to point out that last year, I don't believe that we had the scoring rubrics complete prior to the RFA release, and so this year we're very pleased that we have those. Also, too, the scoring rubrics have been aligned with those that are being used for CTIG, or the CTE Incentive Grant, over at the California Department of Education. So the rubrics are definitely an area where we've aligned across programs. So similar to last year, the K12 Strong Workforce application will be submitted through the NOVA system, through the NOVA platform, and that's the online application portal. And that portal will become available on November 1st. And so in a couple of weeks, November 1st, you'll have access to filling out the actual applications. We made these materials available to you to give your organization time to plan and to prepare your applications. We also want to point out that we've done a tremendous amount of work aligning our timelines with timeline for CTIG, or the CTE Incentive Grant. And we're always looking for ways to integrate our application processes even more. So here's the timeline for K12 Strong Workforce. Again, October 1 is the release of RFA and support materials. On November 1st, so in roughly 10 days or 2 weeks, the online NOVA reporting system opens so that you can fill out the application online and submit. Realize that the K12 Strong Workforce application, all of the required forms that are specified in the RFA, and all supporting documents are due in the NOVA system by December 18th, 2019 by 5 p.m. And so notice that 5 p.m. stop time. Last year we had a couple of folks not meet that timeline, that 5 p.m. So I want to make sure that we're reinforcing it. The applications will then be read, scored, and the selection committees in each of the regions will deliberate between January 13th and February 21st, 2020. And then, of course, we expect to put out announcements in February, late February of 2020. So we're trying to ramp up the timeline a little quicker this year in response to the need to get dollars out to the field. So hopefully this timeline works for you. Notice that the applications being due on December 18th is right before you leave for your holiday break in December. So we're hoping that that works okay for you. And here are the eligible applicants. While we've covered the issues regarding eligibility and allocations in the introductory webinar on September 18th and in the RFA itself, and based on the questions submitted, we think it's worthwhile reviewing important aspects of the application, including eligibility and funding levels. So here we go. So if you're part of an LEA, and the LEA is defined as a school district inclusive of all programs underneath your continuation ed, your special needs students, et cetera, we really want you to drill down and call out those specific folks within your district. County offices of education, of course, are an LEA and equally can apply. Charter schools as well can apply. And lastly, our ROPs, our regional occupational centers and programs, ROCPs, can apply. So these are all eligible applicants going forward. This was the same group as we had last year. So in looking at funding levels, the highest level of ADA, if you look at the one that's over 10,000 ADA, the top amount that an LEA can apply for is $2 million. It's been reduced somewhat from last year. Last year we had a top amount of $6 million on that top level band. So again, the top level band over 10,000 in ADA, you can apply for up to $2 million, and that's the only change in these bands. The rest of the bands have stayed the same, up to 240 ADA. For students, you can apply up to 250,000. up to 550 ADA, you can apply up to 500,000, and up to 10,000 ADA, up to a million. Funding levels are based on the average daily attendance, or ADA. The ADA is calculated for the lead and K-12 partners. That number is automatically populated from a CDE database, and it will be automatically populated in the application. These funding bands are the maximum allowable dollars per application. And while applicants are allowed to request any level of funding within their eligible band, this does not guarantee the amount that will be awarded. So take into consideration the bands as you're applying. Know that it's district ADA that rolls up, and so that's sort of your top number that will come out. And again, these are pre-populated. Application guidelines. Much like last year, we had a letter of intent requirement. This year, we do not. And so for the 2019-20 administration of K-12 Strong Workforce, there is no LOI requirement. An LEA can submit up to 3 applications, but no more than 3 applications. And those applications, you can be either the lead agency or you can be a K-12 partner agency. So you have the option, but you can be listed on no more than 3. And in each application, you can apply for up to the maximum bands that are allowed. So again, each application can request up to the maximum amount within their eligible funding band for each application. So in obtaining a K-12 Strong Workforce Program grant in round 1, if you did, it does not prohibit your LEA from applying again in round 2 and ensuring funding cycles. However, regardless of past awards, each LA can submit no more than 3 applications as the lead or K-12 partner agency. So we've told you that before. So again, you're encouraged to apply and to continue to apply. We want the dollars to continue to flow into projects and pathways that are going to really move students. Okay, so let's talk about preparing and submitting the K-12 Strong Workforce application. Very deliberate, very clear in terms of the RFA. We're hoping you're going to find it that way. These are the sections listed, and you can see on the right-hand column the maximum points. So again, the RFA offers detailed guidance on preparing and submitting the application. So today we are only going to provide a high-level overview. There are essentially 11 sections in the application. While a majority of the sections are not scored, completing a majority of these sections is required. Grant applications are scored on a 100-point scale, and a minimum score of 75 must be obtained to be considered for funding. 75 is a cut score on the point scale. And so take into account all 11 areas. So let's go over the first 2 sections. The first 2 sections of the applications gather information about you as the applicant, the title of the project, contact information, dates of proposed work, and participating schools. Many of these items are pre-populated from NOVA, and so you won't have to enter it. These sections will not be scored, but are mandatory. So you want to make sure that you're filling out sections 1 and 2. Section 3, 4, and 5, the K-12 Strong Workforce Program encourages and supports intersegmental collaboration. And in sections 3, 4, and 5, you are being asked to identify your partners and to discuss them. Partners are identified as follows. Number 1, as a K-12 partner agency, are LEAs that are not the lead on the application, but who you intend to receive K-12 Strong Workforce funds from this work. So it could be on a part of a consortium, a mini consortium. It could be an agency, another LEA agency that you're working with that dollars will flow to. And the second one, higher education partners are California community colleges or community college districts. And collaborative partners include business and industry organizations, workforce development agencies, government offices, and philanthropies, other types of community-based organizations as well. It's important to note that while partnering with K-12 partner agencies and collaborative partners is encouraged, it is not required. However, a purposeful partnership with at least one partner in community college or a community college district is required. So just make sure that as your applications are coming forward, that you're including a community college or a community college district as a partner. An LEA may partner with a community college in another region, certainly if your geography affords that, or if you have programs that are tied to it. If that community college agrees to partner with the LEA and the K-14 pathway is strengthened by such a partnership. So, and you know the colleges that you work best with in terms of proximity and movement of your students. So again, ask yourselves, where do your students move and what's the best way to move them into post-secondary? For section 6, this is the problem statement. It's for project objectives and also other special considerations that you might want to include, might want the selection committee to understand. This section is worth 25 points, so quite a few, and is one of the only few sections in the application requiring a narrative. And so we recommend that you are writing this ahead of time and sort of putting it in, making sure that it's succinct and covering the problem statement and your objectives. This is an important section. The problem statement is where you describe the problem or need that your K-12 Strong Workforce Program efforts will address. The statement should be concise, clear, and evidence-based, and include local regional workforce needs that are informed by your region's Strong Workforce Program regional plan. And that's the regional plan that has labor market information, has scans of where jobs are, supplies and demands. So really take a look at that when you're coming up with programs that you want to fund. Also, programs that target underserved student populations that require increased access or engagement in CTE. So students that you're really trying to target and students that you're really trying to, that might be traditionally underserved in programs and that you really want to pull in. A third area are challenges in current CTE pathways that this plan will address. So in other words, if there's challenges that you want to fix in your current CTE pathway, then tell us how the plan will address it. And lastly, give us evidence. Give us evidence that supports the need. Obviously, if you have data that can show us the need, then use that. But quantify it as much as you can or qualify it. The maximum character count for the statement is 1,500 characters. So make sure you're biding the page limit, or about half a page. And it's worth a maximum of 9 points. Your region's labor market information data should inform this section. So make sure, again, that you're using your data points, such as labor market, to justify your investments, especially within the problem statement and the objectives that you're identifying. The project objectives is an opportunity to, again, describe the clear and concrete objectives your project aims to achieve to address the issues in the problem statement. Keep in mind what the focus of this funding is about, and that's to increase the transition of students from secondary to post-secondary. Your statement should include how your organization will use the K-12 Strong Workforce funds to help meet those objectives. So tell us the story is what we're asking for. And you don't necessarily need to be a professional grant writer in order to do that. The project objectives should therefore be informed by your region's strong workforce regional plan or workforce needs in your local or regional economy. If you've done other scans, if you've had your advisory committees give you information, all of those are examples of evidence that you can use to justify an expenditure and investment in CTE. And then lastly, we want to target improved access and engagement of underserved students. Again, the maximum character count for the project objectives is 1,500 with a maximum of 8 points. So again, the K-12 Strong Workforce Program is designed to serve to support underserved students and also our at-risk populations. Therefore, special consideration will be given to the following: programs and pathways that are located in an area of high unemployment rate. We will use the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Acts, or WIO, as guidelines to establish the unemployment rates. Specifically, an unemployment rate above 6.45% will be considered high. NOVA will use the unemployment rate for the county in which the LEA is located. So basically your unemployment rate will roll up to the county, and it's considered high if it's above 6.45 for these purposes. Programs and pathways located in a rural area, again, NOVA will use the determination for the county in which the LEA is located. And I think we're going to use REAP types of determination, so rural types of funding, the REAP program, those designations. The third one is programs or pathways serving students, subgroups that have a dropout rate higher than the state rate of 2.4%. This is self-reported for the county in which the LEA is located. So again, look at your LEA and see where your students, where the needs of your students are, especially those students that are at risk or unduplicated. And then also programs and pathways that do serve those unduplicated pupils, identified as EL students or English learners, students who qualify for free or reduced lunch price meals, or students who are designated foster youth. You can also include students who are in your homeless categories too. And then lastly, programs and pathways that serve K-12 students defined as special populations per Perkins 5. So all of these types of student designations and that sort of require more need are areas that we will give special consideration for. And again, for this area, a maximum of 8 points can be awarded. 8 points for such an important area. So we'll continue to ask you to prioritize your students. Moving on to section 7, and this is for your industry sectors and pathway. This section is not scored, but it's required. We ask you to just give us a discussion of your sector and how the sector is sort of linked within your pathway. And then on the next slide, here you are asked to select the appropriate industry sectors you plan to target. The California Department of Education 15 industry sectors have been crosswalked with the California Community College's 10 priority sectors, so that when you select the appropriate CDE sector, it automatically associates and crosswalks with the community college sector, and it automatically populates within the application itself. So you don't have to think about that. You just need to know what your target is for your sector on the CDE side. Knowing full well that the sectors are areas that we want to target for investments, but we also want to talk about those investments with you once spending is done. Next, you select the pathway to be included in the pathway program plan. Again, at least one pathway must be selected. So that's once you've created your sector. You've identified the sector, then you identify the pathway or the program plan. Next, you'll identify the purpose of the proposed K-12 pathway and the number of pathway programs involved. So we want to know, as you're telling us that you want to create a pathway, is it a new pathway? So if you want to create a new pathway, that would be one intent. Another intent would be you want to improve or modify an existing pathway. The third intent would be that you want to expand or scale an existing pathway. So you want to actually put some fertilizer on it and grow it. And the last one is that you want to implement a pathway across sectors such that, it could be something like professional development or even a position that would sort of serve multiple sectors and multiple works. We're going to ask you to quantify the purpose for 2 reasons. Seeing the purpose of your proposed work and the number of pathways involved gives us a sense of the scope of your proposed work. It also allows us to tell a story of where you're putting your investments, what's most important. We also will aggregate the responses. We'll roll it up to the state level here, and we'll see what type of other supports that we can mobilize to assist you in the field. So for instance, if you're targeting, there's a lot of folks that are targeting creation of a new pathway, perhaps we can sort of augment and support for that particular sector to help. So these are important informational ideas or information that we collect about your industry sector and specifically the pathway too that you want to target. You'll hear me say this more than a few times, but more is not necessarily more in terms of writing. It's perfectly acceptable for a project scope of work to focus on only one design purpose. You don't have to solve the world's problems, but what you do need to do is make sure that your students are creating outcomes that are targeted towards your goals, your local goals, but also the college and career indicators that are up at the state level within the accountability structure. Your application will only be scored on the actual work proposed. In other words, we're not going to suddenly fill in the blanks for you. Do not select a purpose that is not part of your proposed plan. So in other words, just as you go through and you're rereading your application, make sure that these different areas sync up together, make sure that they're related to each other, and that it really brings out the focus for what you're designing. And Section 8 is for your CTE pathway program work plan. There are multiple steps, and it's worthwhile, and it's worth a maximum of 60 points. So this is a pretty big piece where we ask you to tell us how and what you're going to do. And in Section 8, also, it's the heart of the application and includes several steps. We want you to upload the 2019-20 high quality CTE program evaluation tool that you would have filled out for CTIG. So we'll ask you to upload that. If you're not applying for CTIG, we'd like you to make sure that you're filling this out, this evaluation. And a lot of you probably are already doing that. We want to identify the K14 pathway quality elements. We want you to complete and upload your CTE pathway program work plan, because this tells us what and how you're going to do it. And then lastly, we want you to help identify other funds to support your CTE work. So in this section, make sure that you're using the instruments that are called out for and identified in ways that are going to, I guess, shine a light on your program ideas, on your pathway ideas. Also in Section 8, data indicate that a vast majority of K-12 Strong Workforce Program awardees are also CTIG grant recipients, especially in the 18-19 year. And it's an important component of the CTIG application is program evaluation. This tool is a self-evaluation of your CTE programs and includes the high quality elements of CTE. We believe this is a valuable process and tool, and therefore ask you to upload the copy of your CTE program evaluation prepared as part of your 19-20 CTIG application. Again, we talked about that. A completed CTE program evaluation must be uploaded for each LEA, including the LEA lead and all partner agencies. LEAs who do not submit a CTIG application must submit the CTE program evaluation for the K-12 Strong Workforce Program application. So if you don't apply for one, you apply for the other. Make sure that you're including this instrument. Note, this program evaluation will not be scored, but it's required. And we may ask about it in future expenditure reports that we ask you to report on your spending. Its value is as a tool to assess and identify areas of strength and areas of need of support. We want to increase your rigor, your capacity, and also to incentivize the growth of your CTE programs, especially after we've come through the many years where CTE funding was not there. Information on accessing the downloadable form is available from the CDE and also in the RFA itself. And you all should probably have access to this high quality instrument. Next step is including the pathway quality elements to be addressed by the work. In other words, are you targeting curriculum and instruction, college and career exploration, which a lot of us do very well, post-secondary transition, making sure that your students do move forward into post-secondary, and then also work-based learning. Work-based learning is something that we want to continually shine a light on. So Again, we're pulling out these quality elements in order to sort of paint them as strategies that really are very effective, and so we want to shine a light on them. For each element selected, you'll be asked to elaborate on the strategies, evidence, partnerships, and indicators of accomplishment in the CTE Pathway Program Work Plan. Again, it is acceptable for the proposed work to focus on only one element. Clarity and focus are valued over volume. It also produces better outcomes when you focus on something specifically. Your application will be scored on only the applicable elements selected. So we won't look for things that you didn't do. The next step in Section 8 is the completion of your CTE Pathway Program Work Plan. This is the most important component of your application and worth a maximum of 60 points. You will use the CTE Pathway Program Work Plan to describe the activities and strategies that will be implemented to address your problem statement to achieve your program objectives. The work plan is organized by the 4 quality elements selected earlier in your application. On the work plan, therefore, you will describe the following items. Work to be funded by the K12 Strong Workforce programs. This can align to the activities that you specify in your LCAP as well. Artifacts of activities, if you're convening people, if you're providing supports to students in a different way, if maybe it's a new program, we want to make sure that you're saving artifacts of those activities. The third one is a role of partner community college and the community college districts as well. What role will they play? And we know full well that you may be at different development stages with your community college partners. So if you're at the beginning of stages, then state that. If you're further along, then talk about how those relationships can be moved forward. And lastly, the work plan will, we are asking you to show us indicators of accomplishments. So in other words, how will you actually move the needle forward? As we've stated throughout today and the RFA, complete only the rows that reflect the elements in which the K12 Strong Workforce will support. Applications that focus on 1 or 2 elements are scored with equal consideration as applicants that focus on 3 or 4 elements. So it's not that quantity, it's the quality of the work and what you're proposing. The final step of this section is to identify the additional funding sources that will support this work, and you will check all that applies there too. The final sections of the application, sections 9, 10, and 11, are the budget and match. They're worth a maximum of 15 points. The assurances and supporting documentation are also included there. The budget and match section is a series of 3 templates to be completed. There's a financial match by participating institution. There's a total in-kind match by participating institution, and there's a total budget by participating LEA by year. So there's 3 areas or 3 templates to do it. This is the match is an area that we spend a lot of time with, trying to reduce some of the potential confusion. Detailed information to support completing these templates can also be found in Section 1 of the RFA, subsections G and K, as well as Appendix B. And again, utilize the RFA. That's your first point of contact to go back to for clarification on these pieces. Section 10, to drill down a bit, these are assurances that requires an authorized representative to attest to student assurances, to standard assurances, such as ones that are legal or liability. Then Section 11 is where you will upload documentation. So if you have artifacts, things like that you want to upload, this is the area that you would do it. A few important changes regarding supporting documentation for this year's application. So first, applicants must upload the completed 1920 high quality CTE program evaluation for each applicable LEA participating in this work. Also, the K12SWP CTE pathway program work plan. So those are 2 areas that you must upload. Applicants may upload agreements or MOUs, and we know that in the CTIG application, some MOUs are being required And so feel free to upload those to ours as well. Letters of commitment and support. In other words, are folks supporting what you're doing? How are you involving your advisories, et cetera, your business and industry partners, your other community-based organizations? No other documents will be reviewed or factored in the scoring process. And so we ask that you keep it to these areas. I'm going to turn this over to Alejandro to talk a little bit about the scoring rubric. Go ahead, Alejandro.
Thanks, Dr. Roberts. So if you haven't gotten a chance to visit the RFA page, you will be able to download the SWP scoring rubrics for the 2019-2020 application. And on there, you can also see examples of a filled out application. The RFA includes examples of the problem statement, project objectives, and the completed work plan. The examples are actually not intended to be exemplars, but rather suggest the grain size of details, the breadth of a description, and ways to offer concise responses. So I'm gonna go in and discuss the frequently asked questions. We got about 5 all-encompassing questions that were very common. These are questions, as Dr. Roberts mentioned, that were asked out in the engagement meetings, the K12SWP help desk, and the bidders conference, the webinar we had on September 18th. Questions that are submitted here on the chat, we will take those into consideration and upload them on our FAQ. And I'll show you where our FAQ is going to be hosted. It's actually live now. You'll be able to look through the FAQs that we have that is more detailed. So I'll go ahead and jump into the first question. On how many applications can an LEA be listed as either a lead or a K-12 partner agency? And the answer to that is, in total, an LEA can be listed on 3 applications, and that's including whether the LEA is a lead agency or a K-12 partner agency. The second question that we kept getting was, how do we capture metrics for the K-12 Strong Workforce Program? So the student data that you submit to CDE is the same data that's going to be used for the K-12 SWP metrics. There's no additional data that is required. And as a K-12 SWP awardee, you do need to sign an MOU to allow the sharing of your LEA's data between CDE's data system and the Chancellor's Office CalPass Plus. So once you're awarded, you will need to sign the MOU to allow the sharing of that data. The third question is, how is ADA calculated? So Nova is the platform that we'll be using for this, and we used last year. Nova is going to actually calculate the ADA of each participating LEA at the district level for grades 7 through 12. And the ADA is going to be auto-populated and will be the sum of all participating LEA's ADA. And then the fourth question that we got was, what is the extent to which LEAs are expected to partner with a community college? So the application asks for information of the lead person from the participating community college, and the work plan is going to provide an opportunity to explain the extent of the collaborative partnership. Depending on the status of the pathway development, the need, and the project objectives, the extent of the community college involvement is going to vary. If you need help identifying a partnering community college, we highly recommend that you reach out to the community college regional consortium leads of your region, and they'll be able to help facilitate those partnerships. And our fifth commonly asked question was, do we have to complete the entire work plan in the application? No, you are not expected to complete the entire work plan. In fact, the work plan is designed for you to focus on only the applicable K-14 pathway quality elements. Those are curriculum and instruction, college and career exploration, post-secondary transition, and work-based learning. That's going to reflect how you will spend your K-12 SWP funds. Applications that focus on one element with clear and thorough plans for improving CTA programs or pathways are going to be valued over applications that identify several elements and that don't have a clear or thorough implementation plan. So work plans focusing on 1 or 2 elements are not going to be penalized. So as I mentioned, we do have the K-12 SWP frequently asked questions page up on our Chancellor's Office website. I will be sharing a link to a link tree, and actually, I'll have our uh, member Grace, who's on the call, share that in the chat, so you'll be able to check out the link tree, and it'll have all the links to the resources for this slide that I'm going to show you, as well as the SWP FAQs. So on this link tree and on this PowerPoint, once it's released, you have links to the RFA and support materials. You will have access to the K12SWP page, the K12SWP FAQ page. Returning users to the NOVA system, you just need to go to nova.cccco.edu and you'd be able to log in and use your prior year account. If you're new to the K12 application for this year, you'll be able to use the new NOVA K12 SWP user registration at this link. And then we've added the CTE high quality program evaluation link here just as additional reference. And then technical questions that are not addressed in the FAQ, such as navigating the NOVA system, should be sent to K12SWP@ccco.edu. More specific questions, because it is a competitive process, will no longer be answered. But if you are having technical questions, feel free to reach out to us. As I mentioned, these links are actually available to you now. You don't have to wait for the PowerPoint to be posted on our website. If you go to https://linktr.ee/K12SWP, and this link was posted in the chat. With that said, I want to thank you all for joining us. I'll pass it over to Dr. Roberts.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alejandro. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I was just glancing at some of the questions in the chat. Thank you so much for the additional questions. Wanted to note one of them here. We had middle schools asking if they can apply directly for dollars. And the answer to that is yes, you can. If you serve students in grades 7 through 12, then you can apply directly on your own. And we encourage you to do that. We encourage you to build the capacity. For our middle schools, sometimes the data doesn't always sort of pop out from our data systems. So we ask you to keep that in mind as you try to show outcomes for the work that you're proposing. So keep that in mind, but the answer to middle school would be yes. So,
and the additional questions that are asked in the chat are going to be, they're appropriate and we can answer them as a general case. We will be posting those to the FAQs, but there will not be any further live Q&A at this webinar.
And so going forward, we want to, again, thank you for your interest in K-12 Strong Workforce Program, especially as it is really moving the systems together from the K-12 to the community college systems. We wish you the best in your application process. Follow the timelines, make sure you're meeting the deadlines. If you have issues with NOVA access and pieces like that, make sure you're contacting either the help desk here. Your regional chairs are great resources for you to talk to, especially as it relates to collaboration. So anyway, thanks again on behalf of the Chancellor's Office today and our partners at the California Department of Education. And we wish you well. Thank you again.
Thank you.